Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. That very day, the first day of the week, 2 of Jesus' disciples were going to a village 7 miles from Jerusalem called Emmaus, and they were conversing about all the things that had been occurred. And it happened that while they were conversing and debating, Jesus himself drew near and walked with them. But their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing as you walk along?" They stopped, looking downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, said to him in reply, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know of the things that have taken place there in these days?" And he replied to them, "What sort of things?" They said to him, "The things that happened to Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet mighty in deed and word before God and all the people. How our chief priests and rulers both handed him over to a sentence of death and crucified him. But we were hoping that he will be the one to redeem Israel. And besides all this, it is now the third day since this took place." Some women from our group, however, have astounded us. They were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. They came back and report that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who announced that he was alive. Then some of those with us went to the tomb and found things just as the women had described, but him they did not see. He said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are! How slow of heart to believe all that the prophets spoke! Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" Then beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them what referred to him in all the scriptures. As they approached the village to which they were going, he gave the impression that he was going on farther, but they urged him, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening and the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them, and it happened that while he was with them at table, he took bread, said the blessing, broke it, and gave it to them. With that their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, but he vanished from their sight. Then they said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us?" So they set out at once and returned to Jerusalem, where they found gathered together the 11 and those with them who were saying, "The Lord is truly been raised and has appeared to Simon." Then the two recounted what had taken place on the way and how he was made known to them in the breaking of bread. The Gospel of the Lord. Stay with us, for it is nearly evening. Stay with us. Jesus knew that the resurrection could not just be an event. Jesus knew there was a beginning of a relationship with him, a relationship that is marked and was recognized and lived specifically when Jesus took bread, said the blessing, broke it, and gave it to the disciples. The need was met to recognize him in the breaking of the bread. The Gospel of John clearly presents to us the inceptions of the Eucharist. What is for us the presence of Jesus Christ in the presence of the Eucharist is the presence of the resurrected Christ, the one who raised from the tomb, the one who remains with us, who stays with us. In the Psalm today, Psalm 16, refers to God as our refuge. Keep me, O God, for in you I take refuge. And we need to take refuge in him. The Eucharist is our refuge. Our time with Him and our reception of Holy Communion is our refuge, is what keeps us going, is what feeds the soul, nurtures us. It keeps us from not seeing Him or not recognizing Him. It keeps us close to Him. When we do not participate in the Eucharist often, when we do not receive communion often, or we do not go to Mass often, our perception of Christ changes. We do not recognize Him in the world, even if He walks with us. We may walk around, live our lives as if He's not around, thinking that He's not there. The reason is because the Eucharist is the source and summit of the Christian life. What does that mean? Second Vatican Council presents to us the source and summit of the Christian life. That means that our lives are directed towards it, and our lives flow from it. The Eucharist is the center of our life. We go to it in times of need. We go to it always. We receive Him, and from there, we become another Christ, and we extend His presence to those who are not here today. I'd like to use a little example, a vivid example. I got a new gadget. I haven't put a name to him yet. It's a robot that sweeps the floor. So it's a little thing about this big. I got it refurbished, which means it came without instructions. So I've been arguing with it for 2 days and trying to figure out how am I supposed to make it do what it's supposed to do. So to make the story not too long, but it's a quite interesting character. My dog doesn't like it. He keeps looking at it and wondering what is that and when it's going to come alive. I schedule it for the evenings in the middle of the night. So it's very interesting because it's just, I don't know if you've seen one of those. I never seen one of those. So the thing will just plug itself and then unplug itself and then just walk around your house. Whatever it wills or whatever it can. So there's no pattern to it. It has a laser and eventually apparently covers the whole floor. So as it goes like that, it bumps into things and it stops. And so I came at night down the stairs and I found the thing blinking crazy under a chair. And I looked at it, it says, I'm stuck. So I unstuck it. I put it on the side and tried to get it to do its thing. So it went out about happy again, doing its thing. But the interesting thing is I noticed it all of a sudden stopped vacuuming, and turned around, detected where the charger was, and went and parked and charged himself. That's smart for the thing. Otherwise, he will die wandering somewhere out there. His safe place is the charger. People tell me all the time, Father, for me to go to Mass every Sunday is like charging batteries. And we think of our phones, but sometimes we have to charge our phones like 3 times a day. But I think the image of this robot going around and sweeping trash could not fit better to the understanding that Mass is for us like charging batteries. We spend every day, every night, perhaps, we spend work time with our friends, the world out there, sweeping trash. There's a lot of things out there that our soul has to endure. We have to forgive. Sometimes we have to be more patient with people. There are many things that are given to us, many attacks and temptations come our way constantly. How do we intend to survive without charging our batteries? Without receiving Him in the Holy Eucharist and recognizing Him in the breaking of the bread? How are we to make sense of our faith if we're not continuously being nourished by it? How do we think that once a year we go to church and we're supposed to survive another year without sinning or without doing anything else. It will be like that little robot saying, I'm stuck. And many times we find ourselves stuck and not knowing how to get back to the Lord. And it is the way that we get back to Him is the simplest way to spend time with Him, to go to Mass, and to receive Him. It's a very simple thing, but it's very hard for so many to do. Why is it? I'm busy. I don't go. I got visitors from outside. I haven't gone in a long time. I don't like the priest. He preaches too long. 8 minutes so far. So we can say things like that constantly. We should be like a little robot. If the robot knows that he has to stop everything it's doing to go and charge itself, doesn't matter if it finishes or not. Actually, when it's stuck there, you looked at the screen and it says, I'm recharging, I'll complete job later. We can learn from a robot. Stop what you're doing and go to Mass. Just do it. Again, it's not so much a matter of arguing in our heads, should I go there, should I do that, what's my priority, should I go visit Grandma or not? Go to Mass. It's the most important thing in our life. If we don't do that, then everything else is nothing. If it's not our priority to spend time with the Lord, it's not our priority to be nurtured by Him, to be nourished by Him, then what is it? What is our priority if it's not to spend time with Him? Yesterday, 55 children received Holy Communion for the first time, and then we were by the lake, as you know, the Sahuarita Lake, and it was an interesting Mass. It's the first time we do that, and it was about 500 people they counted there, and more than anything for those children to receive communion, and there is all this, was very hot. But the important is like, I look at these children getting ready for First Holy Communion, and is receiving communion in the Eucharist for the first time ever. Their life changes. Now they're in communion with us. And we forget that. We wish we will dress up every day as if it was our first Holy Communion day. They will get ready as if it was the first Holy Communion day. Mother Teresa used to tell priests and put it in the sacristies where the Sisters of Charity were, a phrase for the priest to always remember. And I had a chance to be in a couple of sacristies from the Sisters of Charity. And it says, priest, say Mass as if it was your first Mass, as if it was your last Mass, and as if it was the only Mass. In other words, don't rush through it. Don't do it quickly. Don't just get it over with. I think the same can apply to us receiving the Eucharist and coming to Mass. Do not just make it a habit that just turns into one more page into the encyclopedia of our lives. But it should, every time we receive communion and every time we go to Mass, live it. Get ready for it. As if it was the first time, as if it was the last time, and as if it was the only time that we receive communion. And we will value it. Don't turn it into something casual. It's the body, the blood, the soul, and the divinity of Christ. It's not a snack. It's our nurturing. Without it, our soul dies. We commend ourselves during the month of May to the Virgin Mary. I invite you to pay a visit to our statue of the Virgin Mary in the vestibule, which was dressed up and crowned by the children during the ceremony last night. We ask her to lead us to her Son, always, that we may always value His gift of the Eucharist to us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.